What's going on, everybody? This is Ben Raven of M Live's Detroit Lions Beat. The beard is clean, the hair is cut, and we're ready for the NFL draft. You've made it. You have made it. We are 2 days away from the NFL draft. I will check on questions here before too long, but what we're going to do is Kyle Meinke, my beat partner, and I have been previewing the 7 most likely players, the 7 players that we deem the most likely to go to the Lions at pick 2. So I'm going to spend today's chat. I'm going to go through each 7 of those names: Aidan Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeaux, Trayvon Walker, Malik Willis, Jermaine Johnson, Ahmed, Sauce Gardner, and Kyle Hamilton. We will add a little talk about Derek Stingley at the end because I do think he's getting slept on in that CB1 discussion. We're going to knock them all off. We're going to start with the guy from Michigan here first, but mlive.com/Lions. We got previews on each one of these guys, the 7 likely picks, breaking it down, looking at their athletics, key stats, why they make sense, why they don't make sense, what they're saying, what's being said about them, and the bottom line. And that's what we're going to get into today. Aidan Hutchinson, runner-up for the Heisman Trophy out of the University of Michigan. I mean, for months, this guy's been the odds-on favorite to go number 1. And then all of a sudden, late April hits. We're 3 to 4 days away from the NFL draft. And all of a sudden, Trayvon Walker is the odds-on favorite to go number 1. I'll tell you right now, I don't listen to that much smoke in draft week. I get the discussion for Trayvon Walker, but in this class, you need an edge rusher. I don't think there's much of an argument to say Aidan Hutchinson is the top of the group. Aidan Hutchinson, is the top of the group. You know, a lot of people complain about him being a one-hit wonder. Guess what? That one-hit wonder was 14 sacks. That wasn't just a typical year. And you got to remember this stuff. The leg injury, the pandemic season. I mean, my goodness, when the guy had a chance to put it together, he put it together. He's a complete product. Seriously, he's not a Bosa. He's not one of those guys that's going to light the world on fire out of the gates. That, he might not even win Defensive Rookie of the Year, but the floor on this guy, the floor on Aidan Hutchinson is just as high as you could hope for. He's got the size, he's got the speed, he's a local prospect, but that doesn't mean anything. Michigan fans, Michigan State fans, anywhere in between, drop those allegiances at the door. This is the NFL. This is the top prospect on the board. This is the top prospect with the fewest amount of questions about their game, in my opinion. I mean, seriously, we're talking about Aidan Hutchinson, 14 sacks last season, a Michigan record, won the Lombardi Trophy as the nation's best lineman, Hendricks Award as the nation's top defensive end, runner-up for the Heisman Trophy, Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, consensus first-team All-American. I mean, he's a pressure creator. That's what you're looking for in a highly drafted pass rusher, is a pressure creator. We're going to talk about Oregon's Kayvon Thibodeaux now, and I'm not going to spoil my mock draft, which drops tomorrow morning. I'll have a corresponding explainer piece on that one, kind of talking about my pick. Hint, hint. And Kyle Meinke's went up today. He's got Trayvon Walker at number 1, Aidan Hutchinson falling to the Detroit Lions at pick 2. And let's just get that discussion out of the way. If the Jacksonville Jaguars take Trayvon Walker, I expect the Detroit Lions to sprint to the podium for Aidan Hutchinson. That's just my gut feeling on that one. I think Dan Campbell and Aidan Hutchinson are cut from the same cloth. That doesn't mean everything, but I mean, there's just a connection there. You can just tell that there could be a connection there. But let's just say this: if Hutchinson goes number 1, as I expect him to, let's just be real. Walker's the odds-on favorite, but that's still kind of a toss-up when you're looking at the odds. Yeah, he's got the edge going into it, but it's not over. It's not a sure thing, and I'm not sucking that smoke. Like I don't see it. I don't see it. Kayvon Thibodeaux, what a legit pass rusher prospect, and I got to be honest, I understand some of the knocks on the guy's motor. I understand that he doesn't have anything resembling an arsenal of pass rushing moves. I get that. I get that. But the idea that this kid is lazy, the idea that this kid doesn't love football, the idea that this kid doesn't bust his butt trying to get to the quarterback, off base, odd, strange stuff. I mean, we're picking at bones here. We're picking at bones. We're grasping at straws. And I guess what you have to do when you're talking about 3-edged guys like Hutchinson, Thibodeaux, and Walker. But Kayvon Thibodeaux, when I get questions about him, like, "Will, you're really going to send him to Dan Campbell?" Yes, I am. My goodness, 19 sacks, 35 and a half tackles for loss across 30 games. Last year, while playing through an ankle injury in the beginning of the season, and then he returns to double, triple teams, won 23.2% of his pass rushes while creating 48 pressures. That's elite production. And yeah, that ankle injury happened earlier in the season. And yeah, he was technically over it and playing through it in the end of the year. But those things don't go away. They don't just go away overnight when you're 6'5", 260 pounds and using every ounce of power you got through those legs either. The kid was hurt last year. He still put up elite production. He still dominated the Pac-12 conference. Who do they pick? Hey, man, my mock draft and my explainer go up tomorrow. I just gave as many hints as I could without telling you straight up as I could. But right now, Kyle Mikey's got his mock draft up. Check that out. He explains his pick and why he thinks that's going to happen. But I'm going to get back to I just think anybody that's got a true problem with this cat right here is lying to themselves and they're buying too much smoke. This is smoke season. They're selling smoke in every single direction. This kid is a legit elite pass rusher. That brings us into the third guy on our list. That's Georgia's Trayvon Walker. And the idea that he came out of nowhere after the combine is really off base, too. This dude dominated in the college football playoff. He had a heck of a showing in the national championship game. He was a 5-star recruit as far as, don't take me to the bank on that, but he's pretty sure this kid was a 5-star recruit. I mean, he is you look at his relative athletic score profile. Shout out to Kent over at rasfootball.com. Give him your money. Give him your love. I mean, this kid is an athletic prospect to behold. And just because he didn't have knockout production at Georgia, I mean, you just need to go back and watch clips from 3 of their games to see what this kid was getting asked to do, how he was being used on that star-studded loaded defense. I mean, he played 13 games this year, 7.5 tackles for loss, 6 sacks. Previous year, he had 1 sack. The previous year, he had 2.5 sacks. So, yeah, slow burn here, but my gosh, they don't make them like this. They don't make human beings like this. They don't make human beings this size that can do the things he can do. And honestly, it's between him and Jermaine Johnson as the best run defenders in this class. But lo and behold, when you're picking second in the draft, you're not picking run defenders off the edge. This kid might. The Football Outsiders are high on this kid's sack potential, pass rushing potential down the line. I get it. I fully understand it. It's not there yet. And I don't think his pass rush, I don't think he can match Hutchinson and Thibodeaux in pure pass rushing. I just think it's silly to act like that's, this kid's special. He might be an all-around stud someday, sooner than later. But I mean, honestly, I believe it was my friend Eric Schlitt over at Pride of Detroit had a great comparison. This is souped up Trey Flowers. This is Superman Trey Flowers. Thibodeaux, Hutchinson, those are guys that are going to wreak havoc in the backfield, rushing the passer. There's value in all 3 things these do. But when you're picking second overall, you are grasping at straws. I am grasping at straws and finding needles in a haystack when it comes to Trayvon Walker. But guess what? The 2 guys we're comparing him to are Aidan frickin' Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeaux. That's what's going to happen. I think he's a step below those 2. Oh, Ducks. I get this. I get why people want to see Malik Willis to Detroit. I get why people want an answer at quarterback past this season. I understand it. All the reasoning behind this mock pick, behind the love for Malik Willis, makes sense. It makes sense. He's got the highest ceiling of these quarterbacks in this class. The thing his arm can do is ridiculous. The things he can do on his legs are ridiculous too. I mean, it's just... And it's not the kid's fault that he played in a Pop Warner offense at Liberty and played against inferior competition. But guess what? He did. I struggle to see the big picture with him as a franchise quarterback. It's going to take a heck of a lot of time. And it's just, honestly, from my perspective, I understand the need for a quarterback, for a long-term answer at quarterback. Listeners to the Dungeon of Doom, readers of anything Kyle and I have written over at mlive.com/Lions over the last year and a half. It feels like 2 years. We don't see Jared Goff as a long-term answer. But Malik Willis isn't the only answer to that equation. Malik Willis isn't the only option. He's the top option in this year's draft, according to most. I think Desmond Ridder sure as heck deserves a lot more love as an NFL-ready prospect with a high ceiling too. But the Lions have 2 first-round picks next year. And I'm sorry. Love something like Brad Holmes loves Jared Goff. He's trying to set that guy up to win right now, to put the best product on the field to help Jared Goff. I mean, that's what they're doing. That's not what I would do. We've seen it. It felt like the last 6 games of the season was Jared Goff's ceiling. It's hard to imagine it getting better than that. That's my take. I'm just telling you what I think from the beat perspective. I don't see it happening. I don't see a quarterback happening at 2. I don't see a quarterback happening at 32. I mean, if Desmond Ridder or Sam Howell falls to 32 or 34 and is trying to slap him across the face, that's the only way I could see it happening. But I'm not the type of guy that's going to put all my bushels in the pick 32 basket. That's got to be a miracle or something like that to change my mind on that. But that 5th-year option is legit. Checking a comment here. I don't know what that means. Okay. But hey, Malik Willis is a stud. He's a stud. He's an absolute stud. I think I really do think he's got it. I mean, I think he could have it. I don't think he has it. I'm I see why people get hyped up about this kid. I get the excitement. I get the want. And let me just put something on the record right now. If I'm wrong and the Lions take Malik Willis at pick 2, that's fun. That's fun for me. That improves the entertainment aspect of my job. Franchise quarterback sitting behind a moody Jared Goff, sign me up. I'll cover that. But I don't see it happening. I'm just telling you what I think is going to happen, what I think they'll do, and just how I think it's going to go. And I mean, I've been on the beat for 3.5 years now. I've spent a lot of time on that beat in that building in Allen Park, and just I don't think it's going to happen. Jermaine Johnson, Florida State edge defender. Goodness, some will have you believe he's in the mix as early as pick 4. Good friend Dave Burkett of the Detroit Free Press had him at pick 2 in one of his mock drafts, and hey, I wouldn't. He's not the top level pass rusher. I think he's eons. I mean, it's Hutchinson, it's Thibodeaux, and then it's Walker, and then gap, Johnson. I mean, that's how I view it. Jermaine Johnson is ready to thump on day one. He's a hard worker. He's a leader. He's a guy you would want in your locker room. He's with Walker, maybe the best run defender in this class. This dude sets the edge. It was a long road to this point. That's a one-hit wonder. I mean, he had a heck of a season at Florida State last year, too. I believe he was ACC Defensive Player of the Year, but I mean, he had to leave Georgia to get a full-time starting role, and he had a heck of a long road through, I believe, Independence Community College in Kansas just to work his way back to the Division I. That's not a knock on him. It's just he's got one elite season under his belt. He's older than the other 3 guys on this list by 2 years, I believe. It's just, I think once you get to the 13 range with the Houston Texans and that pick they got from the Browns, spoiler alert on my mock tomorrow, I think Jermaine Johnson, that's a perfect spot for him. That's a perfect spot to start thinking about him. But he's in a different class. He's not in the same class as Hutchinson, Thibodeaux, and Walker. Yeah, no, hey, I'll highlight that comment in a second. I'm just going to kind of work through. I'm at Sauce Gardner. We're going to talk about him and the LSU cat, Derek Stingley. But, I got Sauce as my QB1, but I do think Derek Stingley is CB 1.5, just because the only knock on Stingley that I really have is that he hasn't been available over the last 2 years. I mean, the 2019 tape on Derek Stingley is as good as you're going to get. That was a freshman. Makes sense. But we're talking about Ahmad Sauce Gardner. That's a Detroit native right there. You got to imagine he sure as heck would like to move up the road from Cincy or move over from Detroit where he grew up. And just, the kid's a shutdown corner. I mean, I saw people tweeting about his tape in the Alabama game in the college football playoff. So I decided to go through some of that. Pretty freaking impressive stuff from Sauce Gardner in that game. I mean, Alabama didn't even think about throwing this kid's way. 3-year starter at Cincy, never allowed a touchdown in coverage per Pro Football Focus. Desmond Ridder, Alec Pierce, they get some of that love for Cincy's undefeated regular season berth in the CFP. But my goodness, Sauce Gardner just deleted 50% of the field every week for that team. He's legit. He's long. He's athletic. He's got natural instincts. And my goodness, I mean, whether he was playing Cincy's conference opponents or whether he was playing Alabama in the CFP, he scared the love of God into opposing quarterbacks. So, the thing we need to talk about is I don't see a cornerback at pick 2. And I know you probably shouldn't operate your draft on what the previous regime did, but Jeff Okudah was the highest drafted cornerback since 1997. Sean Springs. That was 2 years ago, guys. That was 2 years ago. He suffered that Achilles injury that deleted his year 2. He's expected back. And I mean, if you buy into off-season workout videos, it looks like he's moving around. And I mean, it would be a disservice to your draft picks. It would be a disservice to Jeff Okudah. It would be a disservice to the price that was paid to bring him to this town to not give him a chance. And he's not alone. Amani Owarie, final year of his rookie contract, 6 picks last season. Figure out what the heck he is. Figure out if that's a piece you should extend. Jerry Jacobs coming back from an ACL injury, one of the best undrafted rookies in the league last year. He is a sticky, physical Dan Campbell type at cornerback. And then you got Fatu Melifonwu. That's a lanky, interesting, unique prospect that didn't get to play much in year 1. Figure out what he is. AJ Parker started 7 games in the slot. Figure out what he is. That's the beauty of this. I tell you guys time and time again, if I trust Brad Holmes doing something, it's turning rotten lemons into lemonade when it comes to defensive backs. And that's not a knock on those guys. That's just he found those guys, 2 undrafted guys. It's just, I mean, the guy knows his defensive backs. And let me just say this. If the Lions do take a corner or the next guy on this list, hint, Kyle Hamilton, just the coaching staff, this is the right coaching staff for that type of move. Aubrey Pleasant, Aaron Glenn, I would trust those 2 guys with a young defensive back room with the best of them in this league. That's I really don't want to overblow their impact on this team, but those are 2 legit coaches here in Detroit. So if this guy ends up shocking the world and going pick 2 or some strange move back or something, don't get too mad. I understand why you'd be mad. It would be kind of an interesting, but hey, look around the league. Look at what cornerbacks are getting paid, and geez, so Pete, it's easy to see it in this guy. We got one last name to talk about. My preview on Kyle Hamilton actually went up this morning, and it's just, we talk about falling draft stock a lot. There ain't too many people whose draft stock has fallen over the last, let's see here, 2 weeks than Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame. Excuse me. Let's just be real. This is a 6'4", 220-pound safety, and those aren't his school's measurements. That's what he measured in at the scouting combine. I mean, my goodness, that's a unicorn. This is a unicorn of a safety. Now, I think it's been really interesting to see people, that really kind of hone in and discover more prospects and stuff like that to be like, oh, shoot, maybe Lewis Sine, Dax Hill, Jaquan Brisker, Jalen, the kid out of Baylor, sorry, I've just blanked on his last name, Jalen Peter out of Baylor. I mean, there's options that could be there at pick 32 and pick 34. Never draft based on that kind of thinking, but my goodness, there's just like a handful of safeties that would look really good at that pick 32 or 34 spot. But I mean, why would Kyle Hamilton be the pick? I mean, I just said it. He's 6'4", 220 pounds, 38-inch vertical. He's hit 40 inches before. I mean, I know that 40-yard dash has really turned people away. 4.59 seconds at the combine. Not great. But this is a guy that's been clocked at 21 miles per hour at his top speed. Not every athlete is the same. Maybe it takes him a little faster to get going. Maybe that knee wasn't as good in Indy as we were kind of led to believe it was, but I'm just telling you right here, this dude right here on the screen, Kyle Hamilton, Notre Dame safety. If you're looking to like build the back end of your defense, you're looking for an ideal fit next to Tracy Walker that has I love Lewis Sine. I love Dax Hill. I love the other safeties that could be there at 32, 34, or even 66, their next pick. I mean, there's some really good options. Even Kirby Joseph out of Illinois should get some love. I think he would fit well. But Kyle Hamilton's ability to track the ball and to go up and get it is unparalleled. I mean, seriously, he's 6'4" with a near 40-inch vertical. He patrols the field like Ken Griffey Jr. Shout out the Ringer draft guide. I mean, seriously, this is a center fielder. Tracy Walker, 2 interceptions in 3 seasons. But guess what? He's been the team's leading tackler 2 of the last 3 years. He doesn't flip the field much. Tracy doesn't. Tracy can tell us he's going to start flipping the field much, or it's all about luck and stuff like that. I mean, that remains to be seen. I'm high on Tracy Walker. That was a great re-signing. But you want to maximize the back of that defense? This is an opportunity to do it. I mean, if you're asking me if I would take Kyle Hamilton at pick 2, no, absolutely not. If you're asking why, it's because I would bank on one of those other names, step below names, being there at 32. Detroit's defense. Oh, where'd I go? Detroit's defense. I mean, there's questions. I mean, they got to figure out the top of the cornerback room. They got in-house options there. Tracy Walker, Deshaun Elliott, Will Harris. What the heck is Will Harris? They got things to figure out here. As weaknesses, I don't think putting pick 2 at safety helps transform that defense for a couple of years, because the linebacker play here is dreadful. The defensive line is a really underrated weakness if you're looking at last year's team. I mean, similar situation to cornerback, but maybe even a little brighter at the end of the tunnel because of Alim McNeil and Levi O, depending on what you believe in him. But I mean, there's more glaring needs at more premium positions, even on defense, than at the back. So I think no thanks on Kyle Hamilton. I think he's a top 10 pick. I just wouldn't do it at 2. So let's recap. Hutch, Thibodeaux, Walker, Willis, Johnson, Gardner, Hamilton, and I will add LSU cornerback Derek Stingley next to Sauce Gardner as possible picks at pick 2, but among the more unlikely. Honestly, guys, And it's this is whatever happens with Jacksonville, the 3 names to watch for the Detroit Lions. The 3 names I think have the highest chance, and the 3 names I think should be the pick to the Detroit Lions: Aidan Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeaux, Trayvon Walker. It's just all about what happens with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think if Hutchinson is there at pick 2, he is the guy. I think if Hutchinson goes to Jacksonville, as my gut tells me he will, serve that smoke to somebody else, I say. I think Hutchinson goes 1. I think Thibodeaux goes 2. And, we'll see what happens to Walker, but I don't see him slipping past the top 5. Those 3. Those 3 with the other 3 offensive linemen, those are the 6 players you want in this draft. Those are the 6 players I look at in this draft. The 3 edge defenders and the 3 offensive linemen as, you want to talk Hall of Fame potential, you want to talk all-pro potential. I think it's those 6 guys. I'm going to get the heck out of here. I got work to do. Check out for my mock draft tomorrow, Explainer tomorrow, mlive.com/Lions. Kyle Meinke's is up today. Go check that out. We're churning it out. I guess I'll give a little cheap plug. Dungeon to Doom podcast with myself and Kyle Meinke. It's off season, so it's been a little weird kind of getting together and doing that. We've been trying to take fleeting airs of life here and there, but we got a lot to talk about in the coming days, in the coming weeks. And before we kind of hit slumber into the off season, we got a lot to get through. So Lions pick 2, 32, 34. And I guess I'll just announce it here too. I will be live. The Lions are going to go on the clock. I'm thinking about firing Facebook Live with about 5 to 6 minutes left on the clock. We'll figure out the details, but come to MLive, YouTube, Facebook, MLive Sports, all that stuff. My Twitter, Benjamin S. Raven. I'm going to be live as the pick happens with just unfiltered reaction, immediate reactions. We're going to talk about it, anything like that. 22 minutes. Good job, guys. I'm going to get out of here. Shout out to Kyle Matson for all these graphics and the preview video and stuff like that. Couldn't do it without the social team. Take care. Get some sleep and stop reading all the smoke screens.
Yesterday, a new betting league took number 1 overall, Trayvon Walker for the Jaguars, and what that would mean if Hutchinson is still on the board at number 2. A lot of talk about how Thibodeaux might be the preferred choice there, but I think that was if Hutchinson goes number 1. Break this down for us here. If Hutch is available at number 2, what do you think the Lions end up doing?
I think they sprint to the podium. I think, honestly, and that's how me came on it. The way I've got it playing out right now, I've got Kayvon to Detroit. I've still got Hutchinson 1. I think Steve was right and published on that what happens. But I think if Hutchinson is there at number 2, that he is the preferred choice of Dan Campbell. And I think Brad Holmes wouldn't have any problems making that pick either. Now, being gone, it's Kayvon all day in my mind. But, if Hutchinson is there, the local prospects, they've seen him a million